Zillow's not showing you all the homes anymore. Zillow on Thursday, April 10th, announced that they no longer will have all of the homes that are currently in the multiple listing service on their portal. And what's interesting is that Redfin, 4 days later, on Monday, April 14th, followed suit, did the same thing, and are basically now saying to the world that starting in sometime in May, not sure exactly when it is, that they no longer are going to be having all of the properties that are on the market in their portals. You know, it probably comes to a shock to many of you guys because, you know, Zillow is the largest real estate portal in the world. And I know plenty of people, even people that aren't necessarily looking to buy or sell homes, you know, have a Zillow account. They rely on Zillow because they think that they're seeing all the properties. Same with Redfin. Obviously, a lot of people that I know have Redfin accounts as well, and they like to search on there for properties, even if they're seriously looking or not. So let's take a little bit of a dive into that. Let's talk about why this is occurring. In order to do so, we're going to have to go back in time a little bit, back to 2019, kind of give you a sense as to where we are today and why we're here. Going back to 2019, the National Association of Realtors, as well as a lot of the large MLS boards throughout the country, I think started to see a growing trend that many homeowners and brokerages were offering properties off of the MLS. They were selling properties without going into the MLS. Thus, they were never showing up in Zillow, never showing up on Redfin, on Trulia or Realtor.com. I think that a lot of these portals, as well as the National Association of Realtors and the MLS boards, felt threatened by that, you know, that they're ultimately kind of in many ways being deemed irrelevant and going around the MLS in doing so. And so they adopted a policy in 2019 called the Clear Cooperation Policy. This policy, while adopted in 2019, wasn't implemented until 2020. And ultimately what this said was that if you as an agent or a broker were to market a property, you know, it could be a simple Facebook posting, an ad, a door knocker, you know, placing a sign in the ground, sending out an email. If you were to do any public marketing without being in the MLS, you had to have your property in the multiple listing service within 24 hours of doing so, or otherwise be forced to pay some large fines as the real estate agent. So it really changed things up and really kind of put the kibosh in many ways to a lot of these, you know, private sales or off-market sales. So that's a big part of it. You know, in Clear Cooperation, they said, you know, the impetus of it was to create greater transparency, to give, you know, agents as well as buyers all a fair shake at seeing all the properties in one place. Robert Refkin, the CEO of Compass, has been a huge opponent to the Clear Cooperation Policy, and it basically says that their stance, Compass stance, Refkin stance, as well as some other top brokers out there, state that, you know, it doesn't give the seller the opportunity to really market the property as they wish. It's the seller's property. They should be able to do with it what they want and should not necessarily be forced into a multiple listing service that where, you know, as soon as it goes out there, days on market matter, where price drops are shown on not only in the MLS, but they're shown on Zillow and Redfin. The idea was it really wasn't fair to the home sellers that, you know, all of these things were being forced upon them. So you've had this battle now for about 4 years. Recently, also, if we go back in time to last year, about a year ago, there was the National Association of Realtors class action settlement that occurred, and where new changes went into place that changed really the marketplace for both buyers, sellers, as well as real estate agents and real estate brokerages. That class action suit was really based on the idea that there was collusion within the real estate brokerages, within the National Association of Realtors to overinflate commissions, to overinflate home values and everything. That settlement all came down, like I say, last March of 2024. In doing so, I think it ultimately put more pressure on this Clear Cooperation Policy, because while this whole class action suit was about collusion, fairness, you know, it really, you kind of have to look at it now and say, okay, well, is this Clear Cooperation Policy necessarily fair to homeowner? Shouldn't they have the right to be able to market the property as they wish, whether that be offline, online, through MLS, whatever? Shouldn't they have the opportunity to do that? Like, why are they forced to do that? And why are real estate agents forced to have to join the National Association of Realtors, the Maryland Association of Realtors, the Greater Capital Area Association of Realtors. We have to pay all of those fees in order to be able to get to MLS. Ultimately, what happened about a month ago in March is that there was a hearing about clear cooperation. You had certain groups like Zillow and Redfin, EXP, who were in support of clear cooperation. And of course, it kind of makes sense because they want, and Zillow and Redfin rely on all of the properties being listed into MLS in order to be able to be syndicated to Zillow and Redfin. So of course, Zillow is going to want to protect their portal, their business model. Of course, Redfin's going to want to do the same. And then you have other groups like Compass who are on the opposite side who said, hey, there's nothing wrong with MLS. There's nothing wrong with transparency. At the same time, too, why are we limiting a home seller in how they want to market their property? Why aren't we giving them the ability to potentially test their property on the market, maybe at an aspirational price while the home's being made to get ready for the market? And we have to show days on market. Why do we have to show price reductions? Like those things, won't be seen if it's listed privately through a portal.
Compass Private Exclusives. Your agent privately markets your home to the largest network of top agents in the country without the risk of public price drops or accumulating days on market, both which are viewed as the killers of homeowner value. This phase allows us to test price, gain critical pricing insights, and generate early demand. The pre-market exclusivity creates urgency among some serious buyers, all while keeping us in full control to adjust the strategy as needed.
National Association of Realtors just recently came out and they've basically kind of walked the tightrope between the two sides. They made some changes to the clear cooperation policy. They didn't completely disband it, but what they've now created is a new delayed ability that real estate brokerages have to delay putting it into multiple listing service. So whereas the original policy came out and said you had to have it on the market within 1 day, now there's the opportunity to delay it. How long do you get to delay it until it actually has to go into multiple listing service? Not really sure right there. They basically said that they threw that back to the MLS boards. So here in the greater capital area, our MLS board is Bright MLS. We have not heard from Bright MLS about what they are looking at as far as the time for delay to get the property on the market. My guess is it's probably going to be a few weeks, maybe a month, probably somewhere between 2 to 3 weeks, maybe a month, that you can actually have the property, on a private portal and yet market it publicly, through Facebook ads, through Instagram, through Google. They're going to give you the opportunity to do that before you go into the multiple listing service. Guess what? Zillow and Redfin did not like that because I think they kind of know what's coming is that they're going to see more of these sales that are occurring somewhat off market before they actually go into Zillow and Redfin. So while Zillow and Redfin are saying that this is all about transparency and they want to, be fair to all home buyers and the market so that they can see everything. And I do believe that that is part of, their case. I'm not going to say that for a moment it's not, but at the same time, they're also protecting their business model. Because let's face it, who wants to go shopping on a real estate portal where they claim that, hey, we've got 75% of what's on the market? I mean, nobody wants to shop at that portal. You want to go to that portal where you can see everything that's on the market. It's interesting. You've got Battle of the Titans. You've got Compass on one hand, which is definitely the biggest broker who is an opponent to the clear cooperation policy. More or less, we have our own MLS system that's been created that runs parallel to the MLS system. So, we've got their own portal there, have the ability to market properties to tons of other real estate agents, tons of home buyers. Give you an example. Maybe we have a property that is a $150,000 property, but the seller needs 3 or 4 weeks to get it ready. They're decluttering, they're going to do some painting, replace flooring, things like that. So it's going to take 3 or 4 weeks to do it. Planning on pricing it at $850. Oftentimes, you know what? A home seller loves the possibility that maybe we can price it at $900. While we're getting the work done to the house, if we can find a buyer who's willing to pay us this price or somewhat close to that price without having to go through all the effort and without having to go through all the rigmarole, doesn't sell, then okay, we just go along with the strategy that we had from the beginning, where we ultimately go into the multiple listing service, which then again opens it up to everybody. It will now be shown on your Zillows and your Redfins and your Trulias and your Realtor.com. So it's interesting. There's definitely going to be agents out there and sellers out there who are going to say, you know what, I want to market my property privately for some time. If I go on the market, I'm confident in my property that it doesn't show up on Zillow, if it doesn't show up on Redfin, you know what, we're going to sell this property. What's going to happen here? Obviously, high stakes game of chicken. What Zillow is saying is, you know what, they're really kind of going against the National Association of Realtors, who created this delayed listing to be able to go on the market. They're really going against them and saying, I don't really care. If you do this, then you're not going to be on Zillow and you're not going to be on Redfin. Do I think that people are going to stop marketing their properties privately? I don't, but it does give you something to think about there. And the question is, who's going to blink on this? My opinion, I think this could be kind of the start to potentially an end for Zillow and maybe for Redfin as well. Going into 2025 and going further with technology the way it is, I think people, especially home sellers, are going to want to have greater options on how they market the property. They may not want it in multiple listing service. They may not want everybody seeing it on Zillow and Redfin and all that. They may want to just be a little bit more private about it and selling their property. And what's the harm in doing so? So let's talk about the flip side to the portal wars. And let's talk about if you're a home buyer. And if you're a home buyer, I imagine really what you're looking for is you want to see all of the properties. You want to know that what you're seeing is everything that's out there. And of course, beyond that, you want to have a good user experience and everything. You want the portal to be easy and user-friendly. Even before this announcement that Zillow and Redfin have made prohibiting certain listings from being entered into their platform, they never did have all of the property, okay? Because once again, there was a private amount listings that were on the market that were marketed through other brokers' portals that actually never made it to MLS. And so what I would tell you as a home buyer is the first thing you want to do is align yourself with a top agent. A top agent will have access to not only properties that are in the MLS, but also have good access to those off-market properties as well. I would tell you that probably a Compass agent is going to be best suited to do so because we're really the leaders in off-market or private exclusive listings. And so what's interesting is when you go to the Compass portal, not only will you find everything that's in the MLS, everything that's of course on Zillow and Redfin, but you're also going to find these off-market private exclusive properties. And really, you're probably looking at maybe 10 to 15% more properties than you're finding on these portals. And these are the off-market properties. I would also say that the agent you hire, once again, needs to be somebody who not only can help you find properties, but can also close deals. Will it be Compass? Will it be Zillow? Will it be both? Will it be neither? I mean, I'm curious to kind of get your thoughts on it. I personally think with the growing amount of private listings that are now being marketed through other brokerages' portals, not all sellers want to have their homes publicized all over the world, every place, 24/7. I think some of them want to have greater discretion, want to have greater control over who's seeing this, who's coming through their house. So curious to hear what you think. Appreciate you watching this video. And if you have any questions, if there's anything you need when it comes to real estate, obviously hit your boy up. The easiest way to get me is by text at 240-793-7495. Also, scan the QR code on the screen. Go ahead and set up a one-on-one Calendly appointment with me. We can do it by video, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever you want to talk about. If it's about real estate, I would love to talk to you about your personal situation and help you out wherever I can. And then lastly, if you're watching this video from outside of the Maryland, DC area, and you're interested in potentially selling your home or buying a home and you need a great realtor, that's the first thing you really ought to do. Yes, I am pro realtor, no doubt about it. Really and truly, aligning yourself with a top agent is imperative. If you'd like a referral to a great agent in your area, the good news is I network with a lot of the top agents. I have a vast network of some of the top agents throughout the country, and I'd love to be able to help you find a great agent in your area to get you off on the right tracks. Whether that means you're buying, whether that means you're selling, both, investing, maybe even renting, would love to help you out there. So once again, you can go ahead and scan that QR code right there. Thanks once again for checking out this video, and I will see you next week.